Hey guys, GGinspire going live today. Super excited. Today is about game time, baby. Game time. Let me turn on Instagram. 1 second. All right, super pumped. Today's gonna be a great day, so I'm gonna cover a couple things. I'm gonna invite a few people in, make sure that we can have a few guests today. I've been promoting this because I've really been thinking about game time, and I've been talking about it a little bit, and I want to share with you guys the story, and I'm going to do my best not to get too emotional or too crazy about it. I shared with you guys the last couple of weeks, somebody really close to me, my mom's longtime boyfriend, passed away a couple weeks ago, and it feels like it's crazy that it's only been a few weeks, and it feels like it's been like a really long time, because I feel like the days have been a little bit longer because there's been more thoughts than usual. And if those of you that know me know I'm always thinking about stuff, so it's been a lot of other stuff going on. So we miss him, and I wanted to dedicate this go live to Jon Barrow because he has always inspired me, and he always told me that he knew from the time that he met me that I would be massively successful, and I would be somebody who, like, he just felt like he knew that I could do this. He knew that I could kill it in business. And I really, paid attention to his opinion and his thoughts, really because he was in sales for like 30 years. And he was somebody who always went in. They sent him in when nobody else could close. He was the master. He did all the sales courses, the Brian Tracy's, the this, the that, and he killed it. He was always the person that went in and closed. He would always joke with me and say, what do you guys say to them? Do you say, like, press hard, 3 copies, something like that? Because they used to sell, they sold like safety shoes and copiers and all different kinds of stuff. And so I'm wearing this because he always talked about game time, right? So he talked about how game time for him was he would sit in his car, or he would be somewhere, and he would look in the mirror, and he would tie his tie, and he would tighten it up, and he would go, game time, time to go. And so I feel like game time was our joke, right? And a lot of people use those two words together, but it has different meaning for me now. It used to be like, okay, game time, great, it's time to go. My daughters play soccer, whatever. But now it's the way that I remember him, and it's the way that I through all the turmoil, the challenges that happen as an entrepreneur that I go through, and many of you guys go through out there. That's how I find a way to turn the switch and be able to focus on what I need to do. So I wanted to share with you guys some of that and some of our story, because I think it can benefit a lot of us, because out there, I'm sure Jewel, Jason, Russ, Erica, some of you guys, welcome. Some of you guys could probably relate to having some challenges in our lives, right? You've got something going on, something's happened, you didn't agree with someone, some type of accident happened, something you weren't expecting, you woke up feeling in a funk or whatever it was. So there's all sorts of things that go on for us all the time, but we have to figure out, hey, Angie, we have to figure out how to have that switch, how to switch it so we can focus on what we need to do. Because in any event, like, there's a lot of things that tend to distract us. And so I'll give you guys a couple of those things. But at the end of the day, we want to find a way to be able to turn that switch when we need it to turn on. Because you guys, we all need to be better than ourselves. We need to be more successful. We need to have more time with our families. We need to make more money. We need to have higher levels of success. If you're an entrepreneur, or you not an entrepreneur now, but you'd like to be, and there's more that you want out of your life, how crazy is it that so many of us dreamed of bigger things when we were kids, but we haven't yet been able to achieve it? And why is it that we haven't been able to achieve it? There's many different reasons, but the biggest thing is our mindset. And so if we can control our mindset, get a better handle on what's going on in our heads and how to deal with the challenges that are going on, because they're always going to be there. That's one thing that you'll always have, is adversity. And if we can better figure out how to deal with that adversity and control our mind a little bit better, then we will be able to win on much, much higher levels. So I welcome you guys. GGinspire's here to inspire another day. Hey, Juliana, and hey, Carlos, thanks for joining us. Okay, so a couple things, and I want to ask you guys to be interactive with me. I have a lot of questions that I've gotten over the last week or so, and I've been talking about these topics, so I want to make sure that you guys please interact with me and add things, because it really makes it so much more fun. Okay, so what are some of the things that keep people from focusing, right? So one is fatigue. Has anyone who's on here, please comment. Have you ever had fatigue? Have you ever had difficulty concentrating because you were tired? I was just having a conversation last night about that. So I'm sure that you guys agree, right? Okay, so concentration, like fatigue is probably concentration's worst enemy. So you have to make sure that you're getting enough rest, that you're doing whatever you can to keep your energy level high so that you can focus and be in tune with what you're doing, right? Take your vitamins, eat well, get enough rest. You know, we all hear those things from the time that we're kids, but we don't listen, do we? So the thing is that if you are increasing stress, like if you have a lot of stress in your life, increased stress is like, let's say it this way, increased tasks or increased things that you have to be able to achieve, right? Things that are going on in your life increases your stress, which increases your difficulty focusing, right? So those things happen when you have all this stuff going on, all these thoughts in your head. I know some of the people that are on here that are commenting, like, you got a lot of stuff going on in your head, your mind races. I'm a mind racer, right? Like things go on in my head like a million miles a minute. That's why I always tell my husband, I need to write things down. Otherwise they're in my head one day or 1 second and then they're gone. So, but can you push it to the side? Are you able, when your mind is racing, are you able to just stop for 1 second and switch and go over here? Now, can you imagine if something happened in your family or something happened, you got a phone call and all of a sudden, boom, you had to focus on that 100%. It's happened to you before. It's happened to me before. So we have the ability to do it. It's just how important is that task or how important is that situation that we need to take on. So you have the ability to switch your mindset and just focus, but we have to learn how to control ourselves a little bit better and control our mind. So that's the game time, right? So multitasking, that's the other one that kind of keeps people from being able to do things. Multitasking is a myth, right? I try to say that I'm a great multitasker, but the fact of the matter is that if you're multitasking, you're not giving any of your 100% attention to anything. It means you're jumping from one thing to another, right? Have you ever felt that way, right? What I've seen is that when I'm jumping from one thing to another, I make careless errors. I make mistakes, or it's difficult to be able to, if I'm doing something and then somebody asks me for my attention, my focus goes to them, and then I have to get back to where I was, and that's difficult. It's difficult for me to get back on task of exactly where I was, meaning what thought was I in when I was interrupted? I don't know necessarily. And so that's something that's really important. So Stacy asks, how do you learn to switch your mindset? You know, what it is it's a control factor, and it's not necessarily something that you can do overnight, but it's just like working out, it's a muscle. So we have to start thinking, like, the way that I practice it is that when I am like, I'm depressed, or I have a lot of stress going on, or I'm having challenges and my mind is overwhelmed with certain things, I consciously go, well, you know what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? So let me stop and think about 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for. And then that helps me, because I'm not able to be grateful and overwhelmed with stress at the same time. So if I can manage to do that one thing, and then it's an exercise. So every time that I start to get overwhelmed, I start to have all that stuff going on, I switch and I go, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? Let me think, okay, I'm grateful for my kids, my family, my husband, my health, right? All these things, right? My mom, I'm grateful for the house that we live in. I'm grateful for a great business. There's all these things that I have to be grateful for, but you have to step back and start appreciating those things. And it's challenging sometimes because you may be in like a super depressed mood and you feel like, you know, the whole world's gone to crap, but you have to start to find, sometimes I'm even, you know, I posted on Facebook the other day, like a friend of mine was like, what are you grateful for? And I was sitting outside and I was like, kind of in a bummed out. I was thinking about John and I missed him. And the breeze, there was a little breeze, and I saw it like swaying the grass. I mean, and this sounds silly, but I thought, you know what, that's something to be grateful for. There's wind on my face and I can see the grass swaying a little bit. And so it seems like a really simple thing, but it was something that I focused on in gratitude and not, you know, the turmoil that I was thinking about at that moment. So I appreciate you guys getting on, because this is a big deal. Hey, Serena, thanks for joining us. Okay, so what's the next one? Boredom and lack of challenge. Now, I don't really know a lot of people that are bored nowadays. I think when you're bored is usually when you're like surfing Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or social media, and you're, trying to fill the time. And so sometimes you don't know how long that could be, but I think that you are focusing to some degree, and sometimes I think you kind of zone out and just look at whatever pictures and whatever posts that you have. But I don't necessarily spend a lot of time where I would consider myself bored, okay? But you can you do go onto autopilot sometimes, and that's something that can take you off of your focus and your concentration. And then physical factors, like you could get distracted by different things because your health. Now, I was talking to one of my agents about this the other day. I said, look, if you have physical issues, naturally that stops you from being able to progress, but the physical and the mental go hand in hand. And so when the physical may get better, the mental may still linger. And so you have to be, even when you have physical challenges, you have to be mentally present, mentally capable, because it's really easy to lose the inertia, everything that you've built. And so you have to make sure that you're staying mentally present, that you're still progressing and moving forward. Like if I was physically unable to run around and play with my kids, but when they came near me, I was like, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. What's going on? How was school? Now, it may be tough for me. Life's not easy, right? You're always going to have tough stuff going on, but you have to make effort. And it's that effort that helps pull you out of some of those things that are hard for you, that are the challenges. And so if you're going in a downward place, what you're trying to do is you're grasping at something that makes you stay positive. Because think about it, like if you've got young kids like I do, I can't like be, crying and like all bummed out of stuff that goes on when they come home from school. I need to be like, hey, how was your day? Like, what's going on? And did you do art today? And what did you have for snack? And all that stuff that I would ask my girls, So you're looking for something to pull you out of that negativity, and physically and like literally think about it that way, because you're trying to save yourself from the basement, basically, okay? Okay, more questions. Let's see if I missed a couple. All right. Ooh, Smarati. Socorro, thank you for getting on. I'm so excited. Let's see. Let me get a question. Do you talk to someone when you feel stressed? I do. I'm a really like vocal person. Clearly you guys can see I talk a million miles a minute. I like to talk sometimes, but it also depends on who you're talking to and what you're talking about. So like my husband and I probably share most things with him. But sometimes, I still want to talk about it, and he's like, I'm done talking about that now. Can we move on? I've already told you what I think. So in that case, I'm like, well, I need to go talk to someone else though, because I'm not finished. I'm not finished talking about it. I think what you want to do is you want to pick the person that's closest to you. I think you want to pick the person that, one of my friends actually told me this, and she said, I actually, go to people for different types of advice. So like, I know that I have certain friends of mine that I can go to for mom advice, or like, if you have like a doctor friend or like, PA friend. And by the way, I told you guys that I used to be a physician assistant, but people still come to me for medical advice, which is totally scary because I haven't practiced in like 8 years. And I'm like, you should probably like see someone who knows what the heck they're talking about. But you have certain people that are experts in different areas. So I go to those people because I look for people who have insight on what my challenge is, or maybe they've dealt with that challenge before, and what were their thoughts on it? How do they handle it a little bit better than I might be handling it at the moment? So that's something that I would do, is I like to talk things out. And the other thing that I like to do sometimes is journal it, because sometimes getting your thoughts, like, I don't want to go home and always like, beat up my spouse with any like negative things that have gone on, because, that's not fun either for them, right? Sometimes it's good to just journal and get these things out so that like the thoughts that are going on in your head, they say you have like 150 thoughts a minute, right? And 60 or 70,000 thoughts a day. So sometimes you need to get those thoughts out, because you may get those thoughts out on paper and look back in an hour or 2 hours or 2 days or 2 weeks and think, gosh, I can't believe I thought that way. But you may feel differently, right? So I think it's important to get out what's in your head sometimes, and then it may help you from maybe saying something that you don't mean to somebody, or you keeping that inside yourself for all that time, okay? Let's see. Oh, thanks, Angie. I appreciate that. I love being your go-to person. You were actually the one I was talking about. You told me that a long time ago. I go to so-and-so for mom stuff. I think it was Gina. Okay, so any more questions? Because I'm going to go into a couple here. Let's see. So what do you do when you get to the point in business and or life where you have always managed to quote unquote figure things out, but get stuck and you want to say, forget it. You kind of just say, forget it, whatever. As an entrepreneur, you can find yourself going from opportunity to another, but because it's easier. So this is an interesting thing, because sometimes those of us that are like, maybe overachievers, that like to give the impression that we've always got our stuff together, right? I'll do my best because there may be kids watching this, not to say anything that I'm not supposed to. I think that we do a really good job of always looking like we keep ourselves together, like especially on social media. Like if you look at social media, everybody's got their best face on. They're like, oh, what filter can I put so that I don't show my wrinkles or my this or my that. It's so funny. The other day I posted that thing on Game Time with the purple lettering, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, you look so young. And I was like, I should have just put on a regular filter and just, I looked funny, but people are always putting their best face forward. And I think we do that in life a lot of time because we want to make sure that other people think that, we're good and we've got it together, but we don't. And so sometimes it's okay to be vulnerable and say, I don't have all the answers. No, I don't have all the money that I want yet. No, my business is not where I want it to be. And to be able to go to other people for help. But if you're in that place where you want to just say, forget it, then you have to go back to why the heck you started doing this in the first place. Like, what is your why? Why are you stressing yourself out, trying to have more, trying to do more, right? You didn't start out knowing everything or being the person that always had it together. There was a time at which you didn't, right? So go back to that and humble yourself a little bit and know, I don't know everything. And so I need to get to the point where maybe I need to press the reset button. Maybe I need to start over, right? Because if you've always figured things out, sometimes people expect you to always do that. And it's good for them to know that you're human, because you're going to have challenges in life, because we all do. And it's okay to not have all the answers, right? And to say, you know what, I don't know what it is, and I had some challenges, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to figure the best solution that I can, okay? I hope that helps. Ivory, hey, thanks for joining. Okay, I am like getting super dry. Okay, so what strategies do you use to keep you moving through the hard times? Most people get stuck in negative thoughts or feelings of depression. Happiness seems non-existent, so basically you end up very non-productive. So, you know what I do to keep going? I have a lot of things. So I definitely work on my mindset and I work on being grateful. But when I'm in the basement, so to speak, or I'm stressed out and things are going on and I'm not I'm not necessarily happy with my situation. Like I said, I try to turn and think of like a few things that I'm grateful for almost immediately, right? And then, I do go on social media and I look at certain people that I really like. I definitely look at some of Ed Milet's stuff. He's got some incredible podcasts. Please follow Ed Milet, edmilet.com. Oh, and by the way, they just announced that Damon John and Tim Story are the keynote speakers for our firm's national convention. So we're super excited about that. It's going to be amazing. So anyway, I listen to people that I admire. So like Tim Story is an incredible speaker. He coached Oprah, great friends with Quincy Jones. Like he's done a ton. And his podcast with Ed Milet absolutely blew me away. It's one of the best I've ever seen. Andy Frisella I really like. Sarah Centrella is incredible. She wrote the book Hustle, Believe, Receive. Actually, we're doing a huge event with her in July of this year. Nicole Wen actually arranged that. So we're really excited about that one. But I like to listen to people who inspire me. And so I like to hear about how they've dealt with challenges, because we've all done it. We all have a ton of issues that have happened in our lives. And so that's something that pulls me out of it. And maybe listening to their story distracts me from my story for just a little while, and I can figure out a solution. Because sometimes solutions pop into your head when you don't expect them, right? Or when you take your mind off of them for just a minute. Okay. When it's game time, should you forget about winning altogether and just focus on doing your best? You know what? Kobe always said that, and Tim Grover talks about it too in his book, Relentless. What is it called? Oh my gosh, there's the closer, the cleaner, the cooler, the closer, and the cleaner. The cleaner, right? So the cleaner, that's the person, they have a dark side, right? But they're in the zone. So they switch in and out of the zone, but when it's game time, they don't see anybody else. They ignore everybody around them. They're focused on what they need to do. And whether it's winning or doing your best, what they need to do is they want to win, right? Frankly, it's doing your best is a really good thing. And I think that that's a lot of times what maybe a cooler or a closer thinks, doing my absolute best. But I think a cleaner is somebody who just flat out, like, there is no competition but me. Like, I'm going to make this happen because I'm not paying attention to what anyone else is doing. Like, that may be nice that you did XYZ last month, but this month, nobody's going to remember your name, right? So, you know, I think that doing your best is that mentality of wanting to win, but I think of it as you just flat out. Game time is like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get some type of agreement and I'm going to close, basically. I'm going to get them to see my way of thinking. And so for me, it's been really hard these last couple of weeks because regardless, like, business still has to run, even though we're grieving and we feel bad and we miss him, and I'm wearing this tie for him today, you know, but we still have to make sure that things move forward. We still have people counting on us. We still have mouths to feed. You know, we still have a team to run here and all over the country. And so when I'm going into my appointments, I go, it's game time. It's time to move. It's time to go. It's time to not let any distractions happen. I mean, I was literally in an appointment. I was crying the other day. I was crying in my car. I had dropped my kids off from school and I was crying. And I was like, I went to the store and I got Visine and I'm like trying to like put myself together so that the person I'm going to meet with doesn't see it. And I go in and I sat in my car and I was like, it's game time. Let's go. And I walked in and I was like, game on. Let's do this. And I sat with this guy, which is okay. It was interesting. But I was on my game, right? There wasn't anything that he was going to do to shake me. So I really appreciate that question because I want you guys to understand, like, you have your own switch. What is it, right? Like John's was the tie. I use the tie, I think about it, but it's the same thing. Like, it's almost like snapping my fingers. It's go time. Let's go. Okay. Dave and John, yeah, awesome. Okay, Angie, I try hard and be strong in front of my kids because I feel like it's my obligation, but I think you're right. When you show them you're human and not only a superhero, it helps to see them that it's okay to have a moment. But we all fall, but we have to get up. And I think that helps because, like, you know, when John first got sick about 18 months ago, I remember, like, we were driving home one day and we were really worried about him because we didn't think that he had a bleed and all this stuff, like, before the end of the year, at the end of 2016. And I was driving somewhere and Jasmine had fallen asleep in the back seat and I had pulled into the house and I just started sobbing. And I was like, you know, sobbing like it almost sounds like you're laughing. And it was bad. And Jasmine goes, Mommy, why are you crying? And I was like, oh, I'm okay. Like, just all snotty and everything. And I realized, you know what, it's okay for her to see me in that state because she needs to know that it's serious. And I do feel emotions. And even though, you know, I get on her butt about XYZ, like, I'm human, right? And I hurt too. And so we're going to have those types of things happen, but we have to make sure that we can turn that switch and get done what we need to get done for the greater good, right? That's what we're doing this for. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep it together. So I have to take a test, and everyone knows I've been studying, so I feel pressure from that alone. I'm afraid to that if I don't pass, I will look like a failure. Can I turn passing my exam with a game time approach? Absolutely. Here's the thing. Are you studying for the test and really studying for it? Or are you like, I studied for like a half an hour and then I got on Facebook and I got distracted and I wanted to look up this? Like, most of the time what I find is that people don't actually sit and study and really take the time to first learn what works best for them to get the information in their head. And then they don't necessarily concentrate long enough when they're trying to do that. So here's the thing. I failed a million times. I'm not going to cuss, I promise. I have failed a million times. I've done some really messed up things. I've made mistakes. I've said things that I like look back and I'm like, oh, that was so dumb. How could I have done that? And I lost a client or I hurt a friend or, you know, things have happened. I have failed. We all have failed. You know what I appreciate? What I appreciate more than somebody passing an exam the first time, what I appreciate is that if they failed, that they got back on the horse quickly. That they, you know, were like, you know what, I'm not going to stay down for long. That I appreciate more. It's that perseverance, because you're never going to win every single battle that you wage in the war. But the war you're going to win, right? right? And that's your mindset, is that this war I'm going to win. I may not win every single battle along the way, and there's going to be battles, multiple battles daily, but you have to take the mindset that I'm going to win this war, right? And I really don't care what other people think. Stop worrying so much about what other people think, okay? Because at the end of the day, they're not going to pay your bills. They're not going to make sure that you buy a house. They're not going to make sure that your kids are fed. They are going to make sure that their own lives are taken care of. So what the hell do you worry about what they think anyway? I'm going to look like a failure. To who? Who cares, okay? All right, I get upset about this because I really feel like we as a society spend so much time worrying about what other people think that it consumes us. And we spend our time, that's the stuff that we're worried about when we're sitting there studying, when we should be thinking about the material that we're studying. We're worried about, what if I don't pass? And what are people going to say? And what are they going to think? That kind of stuff. And that's the stuff that basically ends up making you fail, right? Okay, how far am I? I'm like a half an hour. Okay, good. So I'm almost done. When you prepare yourself for winning, is it all mindset, or is there something physical that can be done? Oh, I think it depends on what you're trying to win at, right? Hey, Carol, how are you? I think that it's not necessarily, I feel like you have to prepare. If you're preparing for a marathon, well, then yeah, you better physically prepare. I think that as far as focus goes, you need to make sure that you're physically prepared for what it takes to be able to focus. But your mindset, if your mind is wandering all the time, then maybe you need to get in a space where there's nothing else going on around you, you know? Like I said, you have to first understand what works best for you. So I like to work, when I'm in my office, I like to have a little bit of like background music that helps me, that gets me going. And I make calls and I walk around and stuff like that. I'm on my computer, what have you. I know I'm figuring out what works for me, but it took me 10 years to figure that out. I've been trying to do, I have a million organizers that are like, none of them are ever finished. I'm always trying to put my lists in different places. I'm like, oh, this is where I'm going to have one consistent thing. And then it works for like a month or two. And then I like go on to the next one, or I move on to something else. Figure out what works for you. And it's one of the most challenging things. But once you know yourself well enough to know how you learn or how you best perform, then you're going to be able to succeed. So you have to prepare yourself. It is a mindset thing, but it's also, you know, utilizing and taking advice from people who are good in the areas that you want to be good in. So like have a mentor who could say, hey, you know, I need some real help with organization. You seem to be super organized. How did you do it? What were the steps that you took, right? And then listen, don't go ask a mentor and then not listen to them, because that's ridiculous. Then they're like, well, that was a total freaking waste of time that I spent my time telling you what to do and advising you on what to do in an area that you're considering me an expert, and then you don't listen. Okay, so definitely that's important. Okay, should you consult? Wow, that's so funny. Should you consult with your coach or mentor or trainer before you go for the win? Yeah, absolutely, because your coach is somebody who wants you to win and wants you to succeed no matter what. So why would they ever steer you wrong, right? Why would they ever be the person that led you in the wrong direction? They're the ones that have been where you're at, right? They've seen what you've seen. They've experienced most of what you've experienced, especially in a certain area. Like if you're trying to win in business, you want to be an entrepreneur and you're trying to go a certain direction, does it make sense to not listen to somebody who's already been there, who's been at that level and continued to go past? It really makes a lot of sense for you to listen to them, because they could probably guide you there faster. Like think about it this way. If I drew a box and there was landmines all over it, right? And I'm on the other side, I've already gotten to the end, but somebody who's brand new, who doesn't understand, is trying to get through and wade through those landmines. Like, are they going to listen to me because I've already been passed through all of those landmines? Or are they going to listen to somebody who's in the landmines with them? It's really difficult to be able to listen to somebody who hasn't gotten to the other side yet. So make sure that you do consult your coach or your mentor, because they know where you've been, right? They know what you're doing and they've already been there. So they can guide you through it and help you through it faster, because ultimately their goal for you, I'm sure, is for you to get there faster than they did, right? Okay, last question. And please, if you guys have any others, let me know. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. How do you get your team to develop the right game time mindset? Sometimes everyone doesn't seem to be rowing the boat. So I was telling my trainer the other day, thanks to Chad. I don't say his full name because I don't even know he's on Facebook, but I bet he is. Anyway, so I was telling him that in every relationship, and I was talking about like marriages, boyfriend, girlfriend, that kind of stuff, like, same sex, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I was telling him that in every relationship, there's somebody who's rowing the boat, and then there's the person who's rowing in the back. Now, if the person who's rowing in the front and the person who's rowing in the back, if they're rowing in opposite directions, literally where you're rowing, you're going to go in a circle, right? So you have to be in sync and figure out which way are you going to row and which way am I going to row, and we're going to row together. And one person's going to lead and one person's going to follow, but there's support for that person that's leading. Now, I'm okay with it. Like we've talked about it a million times. In my family, I'm the person that's rowing the boat. I'm okay with it. But my husband and I have to be rowing in the same direction so that things work. It has to be that way with a team. You all have to be working in the same direction. If you're going in opposite directions and you're doing things that aren't necessarily in alignment with the ultimate vision and goal for your organization or your team, then it's going to be very difficult for you all to win. So you have to stay in alignment with each other and make sure things happen so you all have that game time mindset, okay? So I hope that's helpful for you guys. This has actually been a really good live for me. There's a lot of things that I really wanted to touch on. And, you know, Jon, I miss him terribly. And I really feel like, you know, our success and everything that we're about to do in 2018 is dedicated to him. I think about him before I go in every meeting. And I really want to make sure that that he knows that we love him, and it's game time. It's game time every day. So the challenges are going to come, the issues are going to come, but just know that you guys have the ability to create the life that you want, and don't ever let anything stop you. Don't let anyone stop you from what you feel is right. If something doesn't feel right in your gut, you need to do what's right for you. So if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Do something else. Do the thing that makes you feel right, because that's the direction that you need to go. So I appreciate you. Make sure that you share this video. Super, super important, because I'm telling you, people need information that inspires them to be better. And it's game time, baby. Like, let's go take this to the next level. I'm super pumped. We had some incredible stuff happen just today in business. So I'm just absolutely thrilled. So I love you guys. Let's take this to the next level. Please comment, please like, please share this and share it publicly. Don't just share it with your friends. All right, check your settings and make sure you put it out so that more and more people can see it, because we want to inspire thousands, millions. You know, let's make a huge impact and change the world. Be inspired for a great life. How do I stop this?